Coming up on this edition of Jerusalem Dateline, Israel entering a new phase of war with electronic attacks and striking Hezbollah weapons in Lebanon. We'll hear reaction from the Arab street, analysis from Yigal Carmon. Plus, the paper tiger that is Iran's current regime. How long can it last without the support of its citizens? And relieving the trauma for displaced Israeli families. One meal and one Superbook story at a time. All this and more coming up on this edition of Jerusalem Dateline. Hello and welcome to this edition of Jerusalem Dateline. I'm Chris Mitchell. A United Nations vote this week called on Israel to pull out of biblical lands in Judea, Samaria, and Jerusalem. The move would force millions of Jewish citizens from their homes. Meanwhile, for 2 days in a row, electronic devices belonging to Hamas terrorists exploded across Lebanon, killing dozens. Middle East correspondent Julie Stahl has that story.
Communications devices belonging to Hezbollah terrorists blew up in a second day of explosions on Wednesday. This attack targeting walkie-talkies after thousands of pagers were remotely detonated the day before. The Wednesday blasts killing more than 30 people and wounding 450. Hezbollah blames Israel for the explosions and says the Jewish nation will pay. At the same time, Israel says it thwarted an Iranian plot to assassinate its top leaders. Officials announcing the arrest of an Israeli citizen who had twice been smuggled into Iran and paid to promote missions to kill Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and other senior figures. This as Israel is shifting more resources for potential military action against Hezbollah. The IDF's 98th Division is being sent from Gaza to the northern border. Middle East analyst David Daoud told CBN's Faith Nation that diplomatic efforts have failed to end Hezbollah's threat.
What seems to remain is some kind of military action to push Hezbollah back from the border, to degrade its military capabilities. And I think we're starting to see the Israelis shift into that posture.
As the IDF focus shifts from Gaza to Lebanon, families of hostages held in Gaza worry if Hamas will ever free them.
Our greatest fear is that our loved ones, whether or those who are still might be alive or those who have already been murdered, will never come home.
And in New York, 2/3 of UN countries passed a resolution on Wednesday demanding Israel leave its biblical homeland of Judea and Samaria and eastern Jerusalem, also known as the West Bank, within the next 12 months. That would force 500,000 Jewish Israelis from their homes in land that the Bible says God gave them thousands of years ago. Most Israelis don't believe they are illegally occupying places like Shiloh, Hebron, Kiryat Arba, and the Old City of Jerusalem, where the two Jewish temples once stood. Julie Stahl, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Also this week, Israeli warplanes destroyed more than 1,000 Hezbollah rockets on their launch pads. And the terror group's leader is pledging retaliation after an unprecedented attack on Hezbollah communication devices. Here's the latest. Some Lebanese called the overnight attack one of the most intense since the start of the fighting. Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant declared a new phase of the war with Hezbollah.
Our goal is to ensure the safe return of Israel's northern communities to their homes. As time goes by, Hezbollah will pay an increasing price.
The IDF Chief of Staff also announced they've approved battle plans for the northern frontier. All this comes the same week as thousands of Hezbollah pages and walkie-talkies suddenly exploded across Lebanon.
The enemy crossed in this operation all the rules, laws, and red lines.
Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah says as long as the IDF is at war with Hamas, the terror group's ally in Gaza, they'll never let Israel's residents return safely to the north.
No military escalation, no killing, no assassinations, and no all-out war can return the population to the borders. Never, God willing.
Yigal Carmon of the Middle East Media Research Institute tells CBN News Hezbollah's prestige has dropped dramatically in the Arab world.
The Arab world sees that they are not as big and strong as they pretended to be. The Arabs are happy about it because they were a danger to them no less than they were a danger to us.
While the U.S. says it stands by Israel, it's discouraging any escalation.
This administration is working night and day to ensure that there is not a wider regional war.
Thursday, the United Nations Security Council held hearings on the growing tensions in the Middle East. Israel's ambassador said Iran is the main source behind the conflict because it's funding and instigating proxy armies like Hezbollah, Hamas, and others.
The Iran proxies are all Iran's attack dogs, unleashed to spread death and destruction across the region. These proxies are the claws of a beast that is not content with attacking Israel alone, but is curving paths toward the domination of the Middle East.
In light of the situation in the north, thousands gathered at the Western Wall in Jerusalem to pray for the return of the hostages, protection for the soldiers, and for peace and unity within Israel. This week in the U.S., witnesses testified to the Senate Judiciary Committee about the alarming rise of anti-Semitism. CBN's Brody Carter reports.
Despite calls to focus exclusively on anti-Semitism on college campuses, Democrats on the Senate Judiciary Committee broadened those hearings to include the rise in all hate incidents.
Since the horrific October 7th Hamas attack on Israel, we have seen an increase in attacks on Jewish Americans, Palestinian Americans, Arab Americans, and Muslim Americans.
60% of all religious-based hate crimes have been directed against the Jewish people. There's something going on here that needs to be addressed.
Despite being only 3% of the population, Jewish Americans have remained at the top of the FBI's list of targeted groups, with anti-Semitic incidents rising more than 300% in the past year alone.
What starts with the Jews never ends with the Jews, and it hasn't taken long already for the public cries from death to the Jews to become death to America and burning flags on our campuses.
Rabbi Goldfeder testified Iran is supporting college protests in America.
Immediately after October 7th, some of these groups, like the National Students for Justice in Palestine, came out and said, we are not just in solidarity with this movement, we are part of this movement. They chanted, we are Hamas. And when a group tells you that they are trying to provide material support to terrorists, you should believe them.
Rabbi Abraham Cooper, an expert of online hate and terrorism, told CBN's Faith Nation he recently experienced this surge of hate himself.
I was present outside of a synagogue in my neighborhood a few Sundays ago and was bear sprayed by quote-unquote protesters, pro-Palestinian protesters, who were trying to actually penetrate a Jewish synagogue on a Sunday morning.
With Election Day approaching, lawmakers fear political violence and attacks on minority communities could escalate. Brody Carter, CBN News.
What happened this week to Israel's enemies in Lebanon seemed out of a spy movie. Pages and electronics exploding, they were only in possession of Hezbollah operatives. We spoke with Yigal Carmon, the founder of MEMRI.org. For decades, MEMRI has reported on what's being said in the Arab world. Take a look. What would people see on your website? I mean, it seems like the Arab media is kind of mocking Hezbollah.
They're mocking Hezbollah.
What's going on?
And they also show the fact that people were bombed by surprise by their own equipment. Is a reason for mocking them for many in the Arab world. I must say, I'm not, as it says in the Bible, when your enemy dies, don't be happy. And I'm not happy about it. I would like them not to be enemies, and not to be hurt. They chose to be enemies. The Arab world sees that they are not as big and strong as they pretended to be. And they pretended to be above the Sunni world. They are just 10% of the world of Islam. And they pretended to be so big, so strong, so against the Saudis, against everybody. Suddenly, they were gone back to their real size. A little thug that tries to scare all the environment. The Arabs are happy about it because they were a danger to them no less than they were a danger to us, to Saudi Arabia, to the UAE. They were under the threat. So, of course, those countries are happy whether they show it openly or in cartoons and in. But they are happy because this thug got his slap and is crying now.
You have an article on your website about the reaction of the Arab world to what's happened in Lebanon this week. Can you talk about that?
Yes, many in the Arab world are very, shanda, how great what happened to them. You know, this that happened is one of the most moral things ever. You can see in the pictures, only the terrorist explodes, not one near him. Nothing happens to anyone. Only the guy that holds that pager or whatever else they had. The most direct and limited thing ever. Not one that is not connected to the evil terrorist is hurt. I want to say this story is very hypocritical in the sense that Nasrallah gave a speech yesterday. Israel declared war on us. I mean, what have you done for the last year? The second day, on October 8th, you attacked Israel. You caused the northern Galilee to be evacuated. You were proud of it. You stated it in your speeches. We have done this. Look at the Galilee. It's evacuated. And now you say, you declared war on us, Israel? Where were you for the last year? It's so hypocritical that people understand that he got what he should have gotten and maybe not enough.
What was the reaction in the Arab world and in the Arab press?
Clearly, Hezbollah has many enemies. Hezbollah is in a very problematic situation. Iran doesn't want to come to his help right now. They are collapsing. So this is not the time for Iran to rush to the help of Hezbollah. So they got it from all fronts, from their seemingly allies, Iran, and from whoever did it. Netanyahu said, all we want is to bring our citizens back to their homes in peace. And what does Nasrallah say in his speech? You will not be able to bring them home. A total declaration of a thug, of an enemy, and he doesn't stop. He just goes on with his threats. You will not be able, which means that the war of attrition from his side will continue.
Well, it's a great insight, Yigal Carmon, and people can see more on your website at MEMRI.org. Thank you.
Thank you.
In case you missed that website, be sure to check out the Middle East Media Research Institute at MEMRI.org. It's a treasure trove of information of what's being said in the media in the Arab world, as well as Iran, Russia, and China. This week marked the second anniversary of the death of 22-year-old Mahsa Amini, the Iranian woman arrested and beaten by Iran's morality police. Her crime? Allegedly wearing tight pants and not wearing her headscarf properly. Her death resulted in nationwide protests in Iran, which our next guest confirms is the reality in Iran. The average citizen disagrees drastically with Ayatollah Khamenei's regime. Ramin, great to be with you. You were born and raised in Iran. Many people have this idea of the regime from the outside. Tell us what people, Iranians, are feeling about the regime on the inside.
Well, the people in Iran, they really abhor the regime because 45 years of oppression, people have been oppressed socially, economically. Imagine, on top of being economic oppression, they also socially, they cannot dress like the woman, have to wear hijab is mandatory. And it's the anniversary of Mahsa Amini, who was killed by the regime because a little bit of her hair was visible. So the Iranian people really abhor this regime. They don't want this regime. They want to be more like the West, like they want to be free, education, technology, and they don't want, I can tell you with certainty that 95% of the people in Iran, they don't want the Islamic regime. Yes.
Would you describe, I mean, some people have, and I think you have as well, it's more like a paper tiger?
Yes, the regime basically has no support from within, from the people. If you remember, on April 13, when the regime attacked Israel, the first thing that the regime did, that they put anti-riot forces on the streets, because they were more afraid of the people rising up than even Israel attacking back. So that's why they were so scared. We had an election in Iran this past March, and only 7% participated. So vast majority of the Iranian people, they don't want this regime. And because the regime passionately hates Israel, the Iranian people, they feel friendship with Israel. They sympathize with Israel. What happened October 7, Iranian people feel that they have been the same victim of the same ideology of Islamic regime.
Wow. As you said, it was the second anniversary of the torture and killing of Mahsa Amini. What changed after that?
Well, the people saw, again, one after another. Mahsa Amini was not the first, and sadly, would not be the last, but thousands of Iranians have been murdered, tortured by the regime. In fact, I myself was arrested and tortured when I was 16 years old, which led to me to leave Islam and to become a Christian. But on top of that, the Iranian people, they have no future. They see that they are seen as terrorists. Their passport has no value. They cannot go anywhere. People are escaping, 8 million refugees. And within, Iran is exploding. Imagine when the revolution happened in '79, $1 was equal to 7 tuman of Persian currency. Today, $1 is 60,000 tuman. So imagine the inflation. People have a hard time supporting their family. And on top of that, the regime is oppressing them, and they have this Islamic ideology of taking over the world and exporting the Islamic revolution and Islamic caliphate. And Iranian people don't want that. And right now, the Iranian people are identifying more with their national heritage, which is King Cyrus, King Darius, Xerxes, Artaxerxes, who are mentioned in the Bible, actually, and they helped Israel, they helped the Jewish people. And that's why Iranian people are rejecting Islam. They don't want to be identified with Islam. They want to be identified with their national Persian heritage. If the regime is hating Israel, people love Israel. And they say that Israel is not a problem. Israel is not the problem. The regime is the problem, who ruined Iran, who is wasting their funds and their money on terrorism, on sending weapons and rockets and missiles to Hamas, to Hezbollah, to Houthis, to even Russia. Recently, they sent some missiles to Russia. So Iranian people feel that they've been robbed of their future, of their wealth. And 75% of Iranians are under age 30. They're under 40, 30. They're millennials. They are Gen Zs. And they want a bright future. And this regime is not promising that. This regime has a dark future, has a dark plan to destroy the Middle East. And I believe that that's why Iranian people sympathize with Israel, that we have more in common with Israel. They never attacked us. Israel has never had a problem with the people of Iran. And this regime is a troublemaker, and people want to be free from this.
Wow, quite a message, and something that many people haven't heard. Thanks so much for sharing this.
Thank you for having me.
Incredible message.
Thank you very much.
CBN Israel is specializing in trauma and stress relief these days. Thanks to CBN partners, we're helping Israelis who've had to leave their homes. We're bringing food, essential items, and family festivals to lift weary hearts. Take a look.
When Israel came under attack on October 7, thousands of Israelis were forced to evacuate their homes. The war, the trauma, and the lack of routine affected everyone, especially the children who were displaced along with their families.
What I felt until now was fear, because in Ashkelon, they wouldn't stop shooting. I felt very anxious, and I didn't know what to do. Today, all we think about is fear and war.
Missiles non-stop. The attacks kept coming. We are quite used to these situations, but it is very difficult for the children.
CBN Israel set out to relieve the trauma and stress for these families. With a mobile food truck that brought meals to displaced people, CBN Israel went throughout the country, meeting evacuees where they were at with food and other essential items.
We're thankful for all the help from CBN hosting us here. We can see their logo all around the hotel. To see them here now, it warms my heart that there are people who care for us, who think of ways to make it easier for us in this strange situation, in this dark situation. I really can't express how thankful I am. Words won't be enough for the amount of appreciation I have for your work.
With your support, CBN Israel was also able to host families from war zones for fun festivals featuring Superbook at 30 locations across the country. The kids got to play on bouncy castles and enjoy carnival food. CBN Israel gave families vouchers for food and clothing.
One of the best things to get out of trauma, to deal with the sadness, especially for kids, is physical activity and movement. It's not the phone screens that kids sit in front of all the time. It's jumping on trampolines, doing sports activities and other fun, active games. We took them out of their rooms so they could have a change of scenery, and it was a big success. The parents wouldn't stop thanking us. This wouldn't have been possible without CBN and Superbook.
Thanks to you, hundreds of families were able to experience joy and happiness again after difficult months of trauma and their uncertain future.
You brought us here. For all those who donated, we really don't know how to thank you. It is changing the lives of these children.
I just want to thank everyone. Thank you so much for all your help and support.
I love you.
It's a great story and making a difference. Well, that's all for this edition of Jerusalem Dateline. Thanks for joining us. Remember to follow us on social media, and you can also access CBN content through our CBN apps. And be sure to sign up for our email blasts for information on breaking stories. And please keep praying for Israel and IDF soldiers in this crucial and defining moment. I'm Chris Mitchell. We'll see you next time on Jerusalem Dateline.